Hello. So while I'm procrastinating on doing the level 9 arcane spell guide, I decided that I would do something a bit different that I've been thinking of for a while, which is just to show how I start out a new game of Baldur's Gate in the original game. So BG1, this whole video is going to be about starting with a brand new character playing out of Candlekeep in BG1. And of course, there's tons of ways to do that. There's no one right way to do that. Let me just take the sound down here. But when I've watched others playthrough videos of the very beginning of the game, I've always found it interesting because I always picked up some tricks, tips, and interesting little things that even after playing this game for many years, I never knew about before. And this is something that I do a lot since I'm trying to play no reload runs. And I've yet to complete one where I get all the way through and beat Emelisan. So I figured I recently died on the last playthrough I was on, and I figured I would just record a video and talk through how I go through the beginning of BG1. And I'll probably stop at about the point that I'm sufficiently leveled and have decently good enough equipment and money to easily progress through the rest of the game, because I like to do my exploring and taking on the main plot of BG1 after I've already reached a point where I'm not going to die or have to run or kite in every encounter. So let's do it. I think it might take maybe an hour. Maybe this is an hour long video, maybe at the longest side, an hour and a half. But I'm going to try to talk through how I think about things and little tips and tricks, efficiencies, and you let me know in the comments what I'm missing. There's a small but awesome player base for this game, and the comments on my videos are always cool. So, all right, let's get going. So let's start a new game. I'm going to make sure I have the right campaign selected because I have the trilogy installed here. So I need to start with Baldur's Gate. Okay, single player, new game. I always play as males. I'm not that into role playing to play as a female, so I always play as a male. And recently I've always been sticking with the default portrait because every time I picked a custom portrait early on, it always led to that character dying early in the run. So I think choosing a custom portrait is cursed, and I'll always just go with this default brawny portrait, which I think is the only portrait that comes default with the game that doesn't belong to an NPC. So like this is, I guess, what the game wanted you to look like, this beefy bald guy. All right, so let's go with this. For good luck, we'll stick with this portrait. If I get to like level 25 or 30 in BG2, then I'll put a custom portrait on. All right, so next up is race. And the first thing I'll talk about is class, because the class I want to pick. Obviously, you can pick any class. This video is not about picking classes. But my favorite class to play is a cleric mage. I generally play solo, and I think it's a really fun class to play solo. You have a lot of tools because you have both divine and magic spells. And I also think cleric mage is a really strong class for BG1 because it's an okay fighter, but in BG1, wands are extremely powerful, especially the Wand of Fire, but almost all the wands are extremely powerful. And also full plate is extremely powerful in BG1 before enemies really have good enough thakos to threaten you when you're wearing full plate. Plus, cleric mages can wear helmets. So they're arcane casters who can wear helmets. I mean, fighter mages get that benefit too, but being protected against critical hits is super important when trying to play no reload runs. So cleric mage, great class. Can only a half elf be a cleric mage? Is that the only race that can be a cleric mage? Let's just double check this. So you can be a cleric illusionist as a gnome, but I really don't like playing as an illusionist and losing access to necromancy spells. Yeah, so if you would like to play a cleric mage, then the only race is half elf. So I thought humans could do it, but humans can't multiclass. I guess I should know that. But in any event, there's no decision then in this case. But I did want to note that the charm and sleep resistance is actually pretty helpful especially when playing solo, because when soloing, charm is actually an insta death. And this 30% probability, I'm not sure if this is actually coded into the game. Whenever charm seems to be cast against me when I'm an elf or half elf, the spell ineffective text comes on the screen and it doesn't seem to work. Now, I've never tested this out because I'm trying to do no reload runs, and so I don't want to test out insta deaths. I'm always using the Greenstone Amulet or Potions of Clarity to protect myself against charm. But in the event that one of those ever wore off or I get dispelled, then this is a nice buff to have. And if this is actually immunity, then it's a very nice buff to have. The other bonuses are completely irrelevant. If I was doing a thief or thief mage or whatever, then this one would be infravision is low. So half elf it is. That's our only option. All right, we already talked about what class. Okay, alignment. Okay, now when I did the level 1 spell guide a couple years ago, I talked about how lawful evil is my favorite pick because it gets the familiar that can polymorph into a mustard jelly, which is extremely busted early on in the game because it's immune to normal weapons and also immune to magic. So lawful evil is a quality alignment to select. Like, obviously I don't care about role playing at all and I'm generally not playing with NPCs, so alignment just doesn't really matter that much to me except from a power gaming perspective. So from power gaming perspective, I think there's really two options: lawful good or lawful evil. Lawful good you would choose because you start with 12 rep, which is the highest rep that you can start with. And rep is one of the important resources that I'm going to be focused a lot on in the beginning of the game because it reduces buying costs. So lawful good is a good option. Lawful evil is a good option for the familiar. Now, lately I've been choosing lawful good more often than not because it's easy to level to the point that the familiar is not super helpful anymore without dying. And I'll show how I do that. So let's stick with that. I'm going to go with lawful good for the extra rep. All right, abilities. Okay. There might be like a dissolve cut as I go through this. The screen that everybody who plays this game has spent hours at over their life. Now, this is so in the weeds, but I actually think it's easier when doing this to, instead of clicking and then checking, to click and hold. I always click and hold and then look at the total because I find it easier that way to, if I see a high number, move the cursor off the reroll button and then release, which would not actually reroll, right? This is not actually rerolling. I find that easier than just repeatedly clicking and trying to notice as I go. Okay, 86, that's pretty good. I'm not going to spend a ton of time here. And I'll get into, there's probably some breakpoints where it sort of doesn't matter. And I'll sort of get into how I allocate points in a little bit here. There's probably going to be quite a discussion about that. I just bet I'm not going to do better than 86 here. Usually I'll do this for a while until I get at least like an 89, 90. There's some classes, oh, that's good enough. There's some classes for which there's minimum charisma, and I find that that really juices the numbers. Like it's very hard to roll a high, like a low to mid 90s with a cleric mage because there's no stats that have a hard minimum. But for some classes like paladin or even sorcerer maybe, there's minimum charisma requirements. And what I find is that the way the roll screen must be coded is that there's some type of curve or probability curve, and having a high charisma minimum will force the averages higher by like flooring or cutting off the curve. In any event, I don't have that benefit this time. Okay, so let's talk about how I think about ability scores based on how the game engine works. First of all, okay, charisma is sort of like the flex stat that I do last. The most important stats are strength and con for really any class. You got to have max HP if you're trying to do no reload runs. There's like no question. You got to get to the max. You got to get to the minimum that'll max out your HP. Now there is a tome available in BG1 to add one here, but I generally like to get con to the point that I don't need the tome. The tome is in the flesh golem cave, and there's some nasty traps there. There's a bunch of sirens that can charm you. It's just a hard area to go even run through with an invis potion on, it feels like, before getting some levels. And that means that if you wait to max this out through the tome, you're going to be missing some HP very early on when it's like most important to not dying. So I never like to min my con. And for strength, since I'm playing solo, I'm going to be relying on physical damage even as a cleric mage. And cleric mages are actually quite good fighters, especially when they get access to combat buff spells. They make insane fighters later on in the saga because they can make up for their lack of APR and lack of mastery, grand mastery, etc. by casting a ton of buffs on themselves out of both the divine and arcane book. So I know I'm going to be maxing my strength and con for sure. So why don't we start there? And by maxing con, what do I mean by that? So let's look up let's look this up here. Okay, so here's the HP modifier per class group for Constitution. For warriors and priests, the max +2 HP is being achieved with a 16 con. There's no benefit to having 17 or 18 con whatsoever. So if I was playing a fighter class or fighter multi, then I would definitely have this at 18 or maxed out. But for a cleric mage, like I am playing, 16 is the max. All right, so 16, this is maxed. All right, now I definitely want to max my strength. I'm not going to get extraordinary strength as a fighter, as a cleric mage, sorry, but strength is still super important to maximize physical damage and THAC0. And the difference between even 18 and 19th strength, if you're grabbing potions or what have you, early on in the saga is massive in terms of THAC0 bonuses. The difference between 18 and 17 strength is also very meaningful. Let's look at that. Also, since I'm playing solo, being able to bash open locks is very useful as well. All right, so let's look at this. So yeah, at 18, I'm getting +2 to damage and -1 to THAC0. And then once I get the strength tome in Candlekeep, even while being I sort of skip over all the fighter extraordinary strength levels, right? Or gradations. And even while being a cleric mage, I can still be getting -3 to THAC0 and +7 to damage for every strike as a cleric mage. That's crazy once I get the strength tome in Candlekeep. Plus, it helps to be able to carry a lot of stuff, wear full plate, and carry a bunch of different weapons, shield, and all that. So you get extra weight allowance and also a bit better bash. So yeah, there's no question. 18 strength is like absolutely critical no matter what class I'm playing. No matter what style, even if I was playing party play, no way I'm playing with less than 18 strength. Okay. The next most important stat, well, for cleric mage, it's probably wisdom, because you get a lot of bonus cleric spells through having extra wisdom, and that scales up to 25, all the way up. And there's so many wisdom tomes in the base game without mods. There's 3 wisdom tomes. There's one in Durlag's Tower you can get from the very beginning of the game. There's one that you can get in Baldur's Gate City if you do the Merrick's poison and kill the priestess in the temple after you give her the book to get the Gaius release piece of paper for Lothander. And then the third one is in the Candlekeep catacombs. So you can actually get up to 21 whiz in BG1 alone. And then you also have the machine of Lum the Mad when you get later on in the saga. So yeah, it's possible to get really high wisdom, and as a cleric mage, that's going to benefit me because I do get bonus cleric spells for every extra pip of wisdom all the way up to 25. Let's look at that. All right, so wisdom. All right, extra spell slots per spell level for clerics and druids. All right, so this is meaningful all the way up the table. And by the end of BG1, I'm going to be getting a ton of extra bonus spells. Holy crap. So that's 8, 11, 12. 12 bonus spells from having 21 whiz. Even the 18 will help me more in the beginning of the saga or beginning of the game. It'll get me 6 extra ones. Okay, so I definitely want to have, for this build, for cleric mage, I definitely want to have 18 whiz. Okay. Next, let's take this down. Okay. So, dexterity and charisma. For dexterity, this is going to affect armor class. That is very important early in the game because armor class does mean a lot in BG1. It'll keep you alive when you're facing low THAC0 enemies. And the goal here should be to get to the -4 armor class adjustment. So I should be taking 18 dex. Then I'm viewing intelligence and charisma as my dump stats. Intelligence is a dump stat no matter what your class is, even for mages. Because the only thing it affects is that you need a minimum of 9 to use wands, which is critical. But I'm hard floored there anyway. I think maybe because I'm a mage multi. And then this affects your likelihood to scribe scrolls. So I'm going to be horrible at scribing scrolls. The approach to that I'm going to take is that the friendly Armin sells 4 potions of genius and 4 potions of perception, and those can be used to max out intelligence and then scribe every scroll that's available outside Baldur's Gate City before, or pretty much every one. Like I usually don't wait to do that until after I've gotten the Cloud Kill scroll from the Firewine ruins. But pretty much every other scroll, so Mirror Image and all the other critical spells that are helpful in outside Baldur's Gate City, I'll just use potions to get up to 25 to scribe all those in one go. And that's why intelligence becomes a dump stat. The other thing I'd note is that I'm not really going to be using my mage functions at all, aside from wands early on in the game, because mages early on are really brittle because they can't wear armor. And I'm going to be walking around in Ankeg plate or full plate through most of BG1 with this build. Only once I get a lot of levels and HP and the mage book becomes more valuable to have access to during battle, am I really going to want to have mage spells. So you'll see I spend a lot of time in early BG1 and probably most of this video, probably all of this video, like basically hardly using the arcane book. But I think that's the optimal way to play, because the access to plates is much more valuable early on in the saga, when like you're hardly facing enemy magic users. It's all about physical damage and keeping your AC low. So intelligence is a dump stat, so that goes to 9. And then it means I'm going to be left with 9 charisma. That is somewhat limiting, because the number to try to get to for charisma is 12, really, because at 12 you can cast a friend spell or use a scroll and get up to 18. And there's certain quests and things that test for 18 charisma. If you can't get to 18, then it sort of doesn't matter what you have. But in the version of the game I'm playing, maybe it's through mods, there is a potion of persuasion in Candlekeep that will add +4 on top of friends. So even with 9 charisma, I'm still going to be able to get to 19 charisma for either a buying spree or a couple, 1 or 2 quests where that matters. So it's not too painful to have 9 charisma, and I just don't want to re-roll. Like it would, in theory, be really nice to have a 91 and be able to put 12 in charisma and still have these stats, but I'm just not going to spend the time while doing this video. Okay. That was a lot on ability scores, but this is where a lot of the decision making occurs when you're forming a new character. And let me know if you think I missed things here or you see it differently. Okay, let's go. 88 is not bad. All right, skills. Okay. So this is proficiencies. All right. This is pretty stylistic. There's definitely not a right way to play. Well, within reason. Choosing to play single weapon or sword and shield is basically a meme. These are not really, these are very, very weak ways to approach the game. Even a two-hander is, it's not like impossibly inferior. You can do it for fun, but two weapon style and dual wielding is the way to go, especially with an APR limited class like cleric mage. Dual wielding is pretty critical. Two weapons, as you get later on, are also going to have the benefit of conferring 2x the bonuses or buffs that would attach to just having a two-hander. Now, I think that the way the game works, it's actually, I'm not sure about this, we're going to see, but I'm pretty sure it might be impossible for me to put pips in two weapon style outside the character creation screen unless I'm a fighter class. So, I mean, regardless, I always put 2 pips here, or 1 in the case of this cleric mage build. 3 pips is completely pointless in 2 weapon because all that gives you is an extra 2 Thaco in the offhand, which who cares? The offhand attacks once per round, and you probably have low enough Thaco anyway by the time it, by even the end of BG1, that this is just completely a waste of a pip. But yeah, with fighter, I would put 2 here, but I can only put 1 because I'm not a fighter ethos. I'm definitely going to take that 1 though, because that's the difference between -2, that's the difference between -4, -8, and -2, -6. -2 Thaco with the main hand is like not impossible to deal with. By the end of BG1, I'm able to dual wield against most enemies and be pretty effective. Okay, so I'll take the point in 2-weapon style. And then I think pretty much, well, sling is a joke, and there's an extreme need to melee. Melee weapons do much more damage. They have more APR once you're dual wielding and hasted, etc. Sling would be a joke to choose, no matter whether soloing or not. I already mentioned that two-handers are inferior. Clubs, the weapon selection for clubs is just horrible, especially in BG1. There's some mods that try to address this, but club is a horrible choice throughout the entire saga. So I think the viable choices for clerics, or the best ones, are flail / Morningstar, mace, and warhammer. And I think they're all viable. Warhammer only has 1d4 base damage, but there is a +2 warhammer available from early on in BG1 from Basilisk. So warhammer is not a bad weapon selection. There's enough of them in the game. By the very end of the saga, you're going to have been able to max out all your options as a cleric mage. So it's not like you're locking yourself in. Like, you only have a max of 1 pip anyway. So this is really about what you want to start out the game with. And the presence of Ashadina with the +1 electrical damage makes warhammer a viable choice. Flail Morningstar is probably what I'm going to go with. You can pretty easily get a +1 flail early on. I forget where. I think there's one of the fishermen that's holding the bowl is carrying one for some reason in the Ankeg area. And you have the flexibility of then also using Morningstars, which is an entirely separate weapon, and you can find +1 Morningstars pretty easily as well. You will not find, I don't think in this modded version that I'm playing with, there's definitely +2 Morningstars out there that can be obtained outside Baldur's Gate. In the base game, there may not be a +2 Morningstar available outside Baldur's Gate. And there may not be a +2 flail whatsoever. In my version, there's +2s of each of these weapons. So in the base game, like, do your research. But if you have no mods, then you might be best off actually choosing Warhammer because of the +2 with +1 electricity. But I'll go with Flail Morningstar here. I don't think in this, how I start the game demo, I'm going to be getting far enough to going and collecting optimal weapons. I'm not going to get that far into like item progression. So we'll go with that. It's perfectly viable. Okay. Now, initial mage selections. Okay. So I have 9 intelligence. I'm not really going to have much success learning scrolls at all until I have a lot of money and can go buy the potions from Friendly Armin and have stocked up a bunch of scrolls that I'm going to try to memorize all at the same time. So basically, whatever I pick, I'm going to be stuck with as my only arcane spells, potentially, for like the whole beginning of the game. And so what does that mean? Well, I think Identify is basically mandatory. I'm pretty much always choosing it as one of my starting spells, just because it's so much harder to amass gold, which is really important early on. There's so many valuable items that you can buy if you stockpile gold earlier than the game really thinks you should have a big stockpile. And not having the 100 gold tax every time to identify items early on is massive. So this is essential, I think. If I was playing party play or with NPCs, then I could easily have Edwin or whoever. And I probably also would have like a bard or a thief that might have high enough lore, but playing solo, Identify, I think, is pretty much mandatory. After that, I think there's a few different good options. Protection from Petrification will get you through the the area that I'm going to go to farm basilisks, the sharp teeth plains, safe. But you'll see what I do instead is just buy the 2 scrolls that are in high hedge and use those and cast them off the scroll. So I don't think this, and really aside from that one use case early in the game, you're never going to need this in all of BG1, except for when you're fighting basilisks and you have potions of mirrored eyes to take out the ones that are in Durlag's tower and in the catacombs beneath Candlekeep. So this is actually not, I generally don't take this. It would be a reasonable choice, but I don't take it. Find Familiar is essential to cast early in the game, but at least in the version I have, there's a Find Familiar scroll that's in Candlekeep in BG1 in the inn. So I never take this. I just cast it off the scroll and then put the Familiar into my pack. So I'm not taking that. That would be another candidate. Friends is also a candidate because of the discount to buying associated with the +6 charisma and picking up items and things. We already know from the ability score screen that without the potion of persuasion, I'm not getting to 18. And there's enough scrolls for this that I don't think that's too good. So I often do this. I think here I'm going to go with shield. The advantage of shield is it's going to become irrelevant once I have full plate on, but it does give me, it will protect me until I get the Ankeg plate or the full plate. It's just a quality spell to have, and it does protect me from magic missile, and it's like a pre-buff that I could cast before a fight since it lasts so long. So I am going to get some use out of this early on, and otherwise I'm not really going to be wearing mage robes in combat at all early on in the game. So I may as well choose something that's going to get me something unique and is a pre-buff that I could cast and then put my armor on. But honestly, beyond taking Identify, which I think is pretty much mandatory, after that there's a few different good options, but I'll take shield. Okay. All right, now early pre-spells. I think it's really all about command early on as a priest. Your Thaco is going to be dog crap. Command will knock down enemies and allow you to get guaranteed hits off on them, and also prevents them from attacking you. You'll see that I'm playing with the Icewind Dale spells component of SCS. So there's some other divine spells in the book versus the default. Sanctuary is another amazing spell for priests early on. This allows you to run in and grab items freely without being attacked. Like you can grab the Wand of Fire, and Sanctuary doesn't go away when you open a chest or a loot stash, unlike invisibility. So this is another reason why clerics are really great in very early game, is because of Sanctuary. But just to start out, gotta take something. I'm gonna take a bunch of commands. All right, this will allow me to fight even when my Thaco is horrible starting out the game. All right, I'm not messing with this. I always choose BG2 male 2.
I'll get the job done.
This guy's kind of chill. I think he's supposed to be a thief voice. I don't know if this is a certain NPC's voice, but I just like this one best. Okay. And let's do video. Video start. Video start. Okay. That's a fine enough name. I'm going to play Insane. I have double damage turned off, but this still toggles up a bunch of SCS components, I think. So I like playing on this difficulty. Yeah, this isn't a video about game difficulties, so I'm not going to spend more time on the screen other than to say, let's see. Okay, maybe SCS tweaks Legacy of Baal so that it's not just every enemy has like 5,000 HP, but in the base game, this is one of the dumbest game settings. It's just not fun. It's not BG anymore. SCS is a much better way to increase difficulty than choosing that in the base game. All right, let's go with Insane.
Nestled atop the cliffs that rise from the Sword Coast, the citadel of Candlekeep houses the finest and most comprehensive
Just
collection of
amazing
writings on
art
the
and
face of
voice acting
Faerun.
in this
It is
game.
an
Just
imposing
love it.
fortress.
All right. Okay, here I am. Now, something I'm going to do, I always do this. You can call it cheating if you want. Say what you will, but I always give myself bags early on. Probably the biggest way in which this is an advantage that probably you could call unfair is that it allows me to port a bunch of Ankeg heads to Baraghost and make a bunch of gold off of them. But other than that, it's like pretty much just a quality of life point, especially when soloing. Otherwise, in theory, I could just be running to the store like every day to sell stuff or be more selective about what I pick up. But this is just more fun for me, and it doesn't really shift the. It's not like this helps me in combat or anything. But everybody, you do you when you play this game. That's the beautiful thing about. It's like not online. It's an old school game, and I like using bags just to make things easier. And it's more fun for me to collect like all the different items and weapons and figure out how to use them in combat and stuff. And for that reason, I like to have bags even when I'm soloing. Now, usually I take the blue one and I put everything I'm going to sell in here or don't need to use again. And then this wolf pack, this is where I put all of the items that I might use at some point in the future. Potions, scrolls, like everything I'm going to use again, like swappable weapons, gear, I put in here so that I don't lose it. And then I just know that everything in the blue bag I can auto sell because I categorize it in there. And of course, got to play optimally by putting your bags in the middle of the inventory so that when you pick up a bunch of stuff off the ground, you have the lowest distance to drop it in a bag. Okay? This is really critical. Okay.
I'm waiting. I'll see to it.
Now, I do play no reload, yet
Give me some
I like
direction.
impulsively quick save. I'm sure many of you do that too. I guess if the game crashed, it would help.
It's done. I'm there.
So I still have quick save on Q. And the way I've done my key bindings,
Give me some direction.
you can
I'm
actually edit
waiting.
the baldur.ini file to edit your key bindings, or you can do so from the menu screen, but it's a little bit buggy.
I'm waiting.
But I put panning the camera on WASD, which I think is really helpful.
If it must
That
be
way,
done.
you're not constantly using your mouse to move the camera as you walk. You can just WASD and click. So, and the rest of the keys I have bound to different spells.
Give me some
I'm not going to use that
direction. I'm
very
waiting.
much so early in the game when I have hardly any
Give me some direction. It's probably best left to me.
spells memorized
I'm waiting.
anyway. All right, so let's put command on here.
My
And
concern. I hope this is worth
all right.
it.
So the first thing I do here, I think that you can cause people to go hostile or the guards to show up if anybody's in your line of sight, which implies you're in their line of sight when you open a chest that was locked and loot it. Obviously, I don't want the guard to show up and kill me, or I don't know. I guess I might just suffer like a massive plus rep or minus rep. I don't want that
Give
to
me
do
some
that.
direction.
So there with this chest, you can stand exactly in the right spot so that you can loot
I'll
it
see to it. I'm waiting.
without being seen. Okay, and armor is a trash spell, infravision is a trash spell. I'm just gonna save these to sell. These I'm gonna sell.
What is it?
All right, and then here, this is an important box to loot because this has Find Familiar, and casting Find Familiar at the very beginning of the game as a mage, pure class or multi, is huge because I just really decreased my odds of dying here. My HP like almost doubled just from bringing in the familiar. So this is really important early on. And I'll put the familiar in the pack. Because I went with lawful good. The familiar is the pseudo dragon, and this thing is a piece of garbage. 12 HP. I can't risk losing constitution points ever by letting something that could die in one hit out of the pack. So this is just going to stay in the pack for the entire game. It's solely an HP buff, but those HP are like really critical. If I had 18 charisma, I think that's the cutoff. I could get this guy to put some gems in a crate upstairs that I could loot later. I don't have enough strength to loot it now, but I'm not going to bother with that. All right, now talking to Firebead, 30 times will give me 300 gold. This is like an Easter egg, but it's part of the game, so I always do that. And after I've done that and start going around Candlekeep, I'll probably start talking a little bit about the different resources that are important early in the game, or how I think about it.
It's hard to find decent folk nowadays. It's hard to find decent folk nowadays. It's hard to find decent folk nowadays. It's hard to find decent folk nowadays.
Now, the way this works is if you go over too fast, you can get deprived of the gold. But if you go too slow, you'll never lose it. So I try to count it, but I don't do it perfectly every time, so I just slow down when I get close. All right, now I've got my extra 300 gold. So because I have 9 intelligence, I'm not going to bother to try to scribe most scrolls. Friends, I could cast this off the scroll later when I need it to do a big buy at a store or whatever. So I'm going to keep the scroll. This scroll is actually quite valuable. I'm not going to try to scribe this and almost certainly fail. I'm going to save the scroll. And here's that potion of persuasion I was talking about. This will allow me to get up to 18 charisma if I want. I'm definitely saving that. And this is where my 18 strength fails me, this chest. If I was a fighter with extraordinary strength, I think this would be lootable as well. And it has a potion of clarity inside of it, which is a great potion. But I can't do that because I have only 18 flat. All right. Oh, I forgot to do one thing. Initial gear. So let's go listen to Winthrop's joke. I always get upset if I'm like the nerd and don't realize that he's joking and pick the wrong dialogue. So I'll show that I'm in on the joke. All right, now I picked Flail Morningstar as my weapon proficiency. The baddies that are killed in the Gorion fight are going to drop a couple of them, but it's only 15 GP, and these things break pretty quickly before in the early part of the game when there's still an iron shortage. So I'm going to buy a couple. I'll probably end up breaking them at some point, but that way I'm at least going to be using my weapon that I don't have a penalty on proficiencies with. I also generally will get a ranged weapon early on. Candlekeep sells more ranged ammo than a lot of other shops, particularly with throwing knives. And early on, when I'm super weak, sometimes I'm forced to resort to kiting enemies and trying to chip them down with ranged weaponry. So it's good to have that option. I don't really want to splurge on the 120 for splint mail because we can just get the Ankhed keg plate from Nashkel. So I generally don't splurge for splint mail early on. Getting a shield for 15 GP, getting an extra +1 or +2 versus missile attack early on is pretty valuable. That goes horrible. So taking the -2 penalty to the main hand from offhanding is not worth the extra APR early on in the game, I think. If you're chaining commands such that your enemies are stunned and everything is a hit, then yeah, dual wielding is good, but that's not going to be most of the time I'm fighting. So I'm going to take a shield. And then helmet. Wow. The best 1 GP investment of all time to be protected from crits. Okay, so let's gear up here. Now we can see my horrible Thaco. And let's head out. Oh, I forgot one thing. I like to do the quest inside Candlekeep for where you go fetch the bolts for the guy in the barracks. I don't do all the Candlekeep quests. I don't know why I do the ones I do. They basically give no XP.
If it must be done.
You know, everybody has their own quirks for how they start out the game that don't always make sense. This, for me, I always do only a few of these in Candlekeep. In here, this is worth going into because there's a scroll of magic missile where... Okay, didn't even need a command. I'll take that just in case I have some weapons break. Yeah. Alright, here's the magic missile scroll. Now, since there's so many of these available in the game, and just casting magic missile once off a scroll is pretty useless, I do usually take the shot to try to scribe this, even though I only have 9 int. So I'm probably going to fail, but let's just see. Oh my gosh. Alright. Luck is with us. So that's why I come in here to do that. Then, because I'm here, I may as well do this. So early on in the game, I think there's... You're trying to, as quickly as you can, get up the ramp of compiling as many resources as you can. And what are those resources? Well, XP, or levels, is obviously one of them. Gold is another. Gear is another. There's some that you might not think about as resources, but they are. One of them is revealing the map. Map areas are not revealed until you try to travel in an adjacent area to them. And so revealing the map, and you'll see I have a certain way I like to move through the initial map, or world map, is also a resource, or like getting map areas revealed. And then the last resource early on is reputation. So reputation comes in very handy in buying initial powerful items like full plate, more powerful weapons, +1 weapons, +1 bullets, potions, all the scrolls I'm going to need, the potions of genius and perception to learn scrolls in the first place, given I have 9 ints. Reputation is really important, and I'll come back to that once I get to the first temple that I'm going to go to buy up my reputation.
Our rules are very strict.
Never bother with that. Again, this is mostly like stylistic, which of these you do.
Your name on it.
I'll use my commands here. Now see, in theory, he's going to be now stunned, or effectively stunned, for 2 rounds. So I can hit him twice automatically, despite that go. But I only needed the 1. Alright, I like to come in there to get the extra friend scroll. That's useful for saving when buying. Okay.
It must be done.
Almost done with Candlekeep.
Something on your mind?
And then here, coming in here, there's an opportunity to take care of a couple quests that get some very small initial XP. One of them is fetching the bolts for this fellow. If I was playing as anything but a cleric, then I would definitely get my charisma up to 18 when I have this conversation, because having 18 charisma will cause Fuller to give you a dagger +1 for fetching him the bolts. So you can actually come out of Candlekeep already having a magic weapon that's not going to disintegrate. But since I'm a cleric, I can't use the dagger +1, so I'm not going to bother wasting a friend scroll on that. And I would have to use the potion of perception as well, because I only have 9 charisma or something in this run. Okay, errands.
I should have joined the army.
Okay, got a little gold. And then coming here, I like to grab the antidote. Good berries are basically useless no matter what. And since I'm going to that chest anyway, I got the sword of this watcher over here. So I'll go deliver that sword and then get out of Candlekeep. It's pretty much what I do in Candlekeep. I don't know. Maybe there's a couple things I'm missing. To me, this is the blend of doing stuff without having so much monotony.
Child, I am glad I have found you. Listen carefully. If we ever become separated, it is imperative that you make your way to the Friendly Arm Inn. There you will meet Khalid and Jahira. They have long been my friends, and you can trust them. Let's hurry, child. The night can only get worse, so we must find shelter soon. Don't worry. I'll explain everything as soon as there is time. Wait, there is something wrong. We are in an ambush. Prepare yourself.
You're perceptive for an old girl. I'm sorry.
So I always wonder, watching this fight, like, Gorion seems to have improved alacrity. He's casting protection from magical weapons. He's a super powerful mage. I always wonder if Tomoko there, I forget her name, didn't dispel him. Would he just solo Saravok?
Dawn is especially cruel.
So I always wonder, like, is Saravok's girlfriend there really the reason that Gorion dies? Because only she had the dispel magic to get rid of his stone skin and protection from magical weapons, etc. Okay.
Hey, it's me, Imoen.
Imoen forces herself into the party. I'm playing solo. I don't really like Imoen regardless. But I am going to take the items that she has that are useful before I kick her out of the party.
I turn off.
Give me some.
Okay, now, I'm going to be doing this a lot. If I'm near the edge of the map, I'll just go to the edge of the map and click it. Because, again, having areas revealed on the world map is actually, you know, a form of a resource early on. Having the option to travel to different areas. So, High Hedge is a super useful area to go to. One of the best stores in the game. You can get to it from level 1. I'm going to be using it pretty early on. So I like to reveal High Hedge before I go and loot these bodies here. Now, the whole point of what I'm doing at this stage of the game is if I get into a fight, I'm going to have to run. I'm probably dead against most enemies. So what I'm trying to do here is maximize my gold and my items. And then I'm gonna go get some initial levels at the Basilisk area. But before I do that, I'm gonna need protection from petrification scrolls. And while I'm sort of making my way there, I knock off, you know, some item and gold gathering that is gonna add to my wealth stockpile and let me start buying powerful items.
Give me some direction.
If I can do so in ways that I'm not going to have to take a fight. Here I think there's a wolf that's a bit further north, so I'm going to go south. And this right here is where there's a diamond in a tree. So I'll grab that. I like to talk to Zara and Montron just to take their items. I don't do this with all the NPCs, but when I'm starting out with literally nothing to my name, these potions of healing can come in handy. And these scrolls are just a little extra gold. Alright, so this I think sells for 250 gold. It's a pretty crap belt, but because I have Identify as one of my starting spells, I'm able to get a nice profit off this, 250 versus 150. Let's kick these guys out.
Something troubling you?
All right. Now, the game lore wants you to go to Friendly Arm Inn to meet Khalid and Jahira. I sometimes just don't meet them at all until like they actually disappear, I think, if you don't meet them before you beat the Nashkel Mines. But sometimes I never meet them at all because Tarnesh the mage is standing on the steps of the Friendly Arm Inn, and he can easily kill you by fearing you and then magic missiling you down early in the game. So I definitely don't want to fight him. However, I still go to the Friendly Arm Inn, and it's not because the lore sends me there. It's because the Evermemory or the Wizardry ring is in a hole in a tree in this area, as I'm sure like longtime players of this game all know. That ring sells for 9,000 gold. It's one of the most expensive items in the game. So just by grabbing that one item, I'm going to give myself a huge gold stockpile starting very early on in the game. So I need to go pick that up. So that's what I'll do next.
If it must be done.
Elminster is so annoying to me. Alright. Now, because I have command, I'm going to actually take this fight. Alright.
It's probably best left to me.
This is a berry that either reduces fatigue or adds regeneration or heals. It comes in through a mod, but it's like a slightly better good berry. So I'll save that. All right, now this rock here has a ring of protection +1. So I absolutely will take that.
It's worth it.
All right, here we are at Friendly Arm Inn.
I'm willing.
And again, my main purpose for coming here is to get Ever Memory.
I'm waiting.
I'll rest here so that I can now identify it. Okay. And now I'm going to put that in my sail bag.
Yeah, I'll see to it. Give me some direction.
Sometimes I will go try to kill the hobgoblins that are in the north of this area because they'll drop a ring that you can get +1 rep off of by returning it to the lady that's in one of the houses right inside the Friendly Arm Inn walls here. On this run, I'm not going to do that. It's a little tedious. I'd have to rely on use of command a lot, maybe the sling a little bit and the wand of magic missiles. I also didn't bother to pay for any armor, so I can always come back and do that later, a little bit later. I'm not going to do it right now because I only have 14 HP and no armor. So, all right, where next? So because I revealed the high edge before, going south at Lions Way, I head there next.
I'm there.
Now here, there's a chance that there's a skeleton that's going to appear. Right about here. Okay, I think I went far enough to the right. Alright, so I don't have to fight there. Oh.
I'm waiting.
Okay, so this is why you need a helmet. I probably would be dead right now. No, I guess I would have only taken 8 damage. Alright. Let me just run away.
Hello, pal.
Okay. Let's head in here.
Probably best left to me.
I be Palantir, mighty
Palantir's kind of funny. He's too pompous to speak with you unless you just talk to him twice. Then he will. Alright, now, what am I doing at this visit to the High Hedge? Well, I'm clearing out these items that I saved to sell. And this is getting me to almost 11,000 gold, like within just starting the game. Okay, so that's already my resource line is going up quickly. Now, what do I need to buy right now? So I'm not intending to use one of my friend's scrolls. There's no point in buying any mage scrolls because my intelligence is at 9. And I don't have the potions to be able to scribe them. With one exception, which I'll come back to. And it's just not the time to be spending a lot of gold on the other types of things that are sold here. A protection from undead scroll can come in very handy, but you can get one of those on a quest that gets plus rep anyway, which I'll probably show in a little bit. So I'm staying focused here. The only thing I'm going to buy is these 2 scrolls. These 2 scrolls are going to allow me to go fight all the basilisks and get my XP up. So I'm going to grab these 2 scrolls. Not going to scribe them because I have 9 ints. I'd probably just waste the scroll.
Hey, not a concern.
All right, now where to from here? I won't travel too close to the bear so that... All right. Reveal the red canyons. That's important for later, as you'll see. And now from here, I like to go to Bear Gust. My next objective is to go get my rep up and also get my XP up by going to the basilisk area. So to do that, I have to go east. And
I'll see to it.
coming this way, I can reveal a few more areas as well. I should say, I'm not going to do the basilisk area until I can get some armor. But you'll see how I get to Nashko.
It's done.
Just reveal that area. And then I'm going to head over to the temple that's to the east of Bear Ghost. I like going to this temple to buy up my rep, because this temple's on the way to the Sharp Tooth Plain anyway. Okay. Get back to full XP.
I'm there.
All right, now let's talk about rep for a little bit and why it's really important, even early in the game. So, all right. The main reason that rep is important is because of this. And this combos with high charisma to drastically reduce the price of some really high price items that are very valuable to get early in the game. Dagger of Venom, if you're not a cleric. Full plate, the Cloak of Displacement from Olgoth's Beard, which is the best quality cloak until the Cloak of Baldur in Baldur's Gate. There's various weapons you can buy that are very expensive. All the scrolls and potions. So getting store prices down is really important. And so I need to try to get to 20 rep as fast as I can, where I'm going to have a 70% store discount. Now, how am I going to do that? Well, through a combination of quests and spending gold. The thing about rep is that when you're at lower reps, buying your rep up through gold is actually really, really cheap. You'll make this back so quickly in terms of store savings. So this is one of the best uses of your early gold, is to buy up your rep. And that's what I'm going to do here. I'm starting at 12 rep, so I need 800 gold for a rep increase of 1. Now what you'll see here is that the cost for a rep increase in gold terms goes up exponentially here, or like according to some logarithmic scale. These plus reps from 15 to 20, you can't even get past 17 through gold. Money will only buy you so much in life in this game. But I usually stop when I get to 15 rep. So after the spending the 1500. These are very expensive, and at this point it's pretty easy to go out and find quests that will get these extra points of rep. And I'll point out which ones I like to do, because the ones that are very easy don't involve much bodily peril. So what am I going to do right now? I want to take myself from 12 to 15 reps so that when I get those plus rep points from quests, I'm then getting up to 20. All right, and you got to buy up your rep first so that you get the benefit of the cheap rep points before you have to go get the quests to get the expensive ones. Okay, so I got to do 800, then 1,000, then 1,500. Okay, now I'm at 15 rep. So I need 5 more rep points to get max store discounts. But I'm on my way. Now the advantage of coming to this temple is that, may as well reveal Larswood. And then I'm going to skate just across the top of the level here, so I avoid a pack of wolves, including vampiric wolves that would kill me right now, that are just to the south of this. But the advantage of coming to this temple is that now I can reveal for use in a little bit the Sharp Teeth Plain, which is where the basilisks are, aka Mutamin's garden, and that's where I'm going to pick up a lot of XP to rapidly level in a little bit. But first I want to get like a little bit more items and definitely some armor. So now is where it's going to come in handy that I revealed the Red Canyons. there's two ways to get to Nashkel in this game, actually. I mean, one of them is you can walk there, and then the other one is you can do what I'm about to do. So, and the way that I'm about to do it also gets you some gold / items and a +1 rep, which again is one of my goals right now, is to get my rep up. So let's do it my way. It involves teleporting, literally. But this is the way I always get to Nashkel, and I think it's the best way to get there. But you have to go through the Red Canyons to do so. So I'm glad I revealed that area. Now I'm going to come this way. There's going to be a skeleton here, but I think he only will have a melee weapon. Yeah. Alright. Now, let me head to the Ancient Ruins. And the reason is because there's a quest here where there's this madman named Brage. And just by talking to him and solving his riddle, I can get some XP and literally get teleported to Nashkel along with +1 rep. So I need to be careful here. If I choose this dialogue option, then he's going to go hostile and probably kill me because I have 14 HP. But if I play dumb and say, who are you talking about?
Greetings,
Then he's going to ask me a riddle.
Thou hast found me
And the answer
when
is
I alone could not.
death. Alright, now I've brought him out of his madness, and I'll say, we'll see you back as safe as we can. He needs to go to Nashkel. Watch. Cutscene, and all of a sudden I'm in the temple in Nashkel. It's not like this is revolutionary stuff or anything, like, you know, this is a well-known side quest, but this is the best way to get to Nashkel, so I do it every time. So for that I get 1,000 gold. I also got 1,000 experience, +1 rep, and some items that I can use or sell.
Give me it's done.
And now I'm in Nashkel.
With your hurry,
I'm there. For the glory of Am!
Okay, now that I'm here, what do I need to do? Well, I'm going to continue with my plan of building items, gold, and revealing the map, the world map. But now I'm going to come back and head over to this stash on the west side of Nashkel and pick up the armor. This is the second best armor. Maybe like the plate mail +1 is equivalent to this, but this is, I'm pretty sure this is the second best armor in the game after the full plate. The full plate is significantly better, but this is very good armor. Very good armor. AC1, and it's free coming out of a hole in the ground. And the AC is even better versus slashing, which is very common. A lot of sword wielding enemies. And better versus piercing and missile. Okay. Now I've got some quality armor. This is what I'll keep until I can afford to buy full plate. Okay. This goes in the cell box.
Yeah, it's probably best left to me.
Alright. I think I need to go to the bottom of Nashkel to reveal another area that I'm going to want to go through later. Yeah, so the Fireleaf Forest. So I can walk through this area to get to an area that has 2 very easy quests to get a nice belt and also +2 rep and a scroll of protection from undead, which could then be used to raid the tombs outside the Nashkel Mines exit under no threat from the undead there. So that's something I like to do in a little bit after I've got XP. But for now, I'll just reveal the area, and then I'll come back to it later. Okay, so now I have some weapons. I have good armor, so I can like be walking around places and not get one shot. And it's time to go focus on getting my XP up now. Okay. So at this point, I have 8,000 gold. I have the second best armor it's possible to get. My weapons are still crap, but I can at least fight. I have an AC of -5, and my main problem is that I'm still level 1. So let's go address that. Alright. So this is our friend Korax. Korax is immune to petrification. Got to be really careful with this dialogue box. We definitely need Korax here to easily fight all these basilisks. Now, the name of the game in this area is to avoid the party of 4 that I'm not leveled enough to fight, and I don't have the right items to fight in the middle of the map, while going around and killing all the basilisks. And making sure that my protection from petrification doesn't wear off, otherwise I will get insta-killed by them. So I have been able to do this with 1 scroll lately, in which case I can save the other one to try to scribe it later, but it's better safe than sorry. So let me take off my armor.
I'm waiting. What is it?
And now use this scroll. Alright, now I'm going to be protected from petrification for an hour. The basilisks do sometimes still have a physical attack, so it's best to keep distance and let Korax go in there and paralyze them.
I'm waiting.
And I'm already sort of missing finding the first one. Okay, there we go.
Korax!
Give me some direction.
This is why having the sling comes in handy.
I'm waiting.
Now what I do in this area is, as soon as one of the basilisks is paralyzed, then I immediately switch to dual wielding and go up and kill it, and let Korax go ahead.
Give me some
Because once it's paralyzed, every attack hits, and so Thaco doesn't matter, so it's better to have the APR.
Korax hungry.
Not a concern. Give me some direction. This is worth it.
Okay, that one's already paralyzed.
I'll see.
I guess if you're playing optimally, you always want to take your level ups as soon as you get them, especially this early on, because your HP increase from leveling up is going to be massive. So, let's see, I only got 3. It's because I'm multi-class, my hit points per level are shaved down, but, you know, this is like a 15% increase in my HP just from 1 level. So, all right.
Give me some. I'm waiting.
Yeah, see, there was a little physical damage attack there.
Give me some direction.
Yep.
I'm waiting.
Korax,
Give me some direction.
your enemy.
I'm actually, let's see. All right. Now I think I've just leveled twice. There was an overlap in the leveling, so I'm adding HP pretty quickly now.
Korax, good.
I might just use a potion here.
But he's so very.
I'm waiting.
All right.
Not a concern.
So already I have a second pip here. And I think I'm going to take Sling next. Not because Sling is any good, but because I already have a melee weapon. And so I may as well diversify and take the ranged. The next one, my next choice might be in Warhammer or something.
I'm waiting. Yeah, give me some direction. It's done. Yeah, I'm there. I'm waiting. Yeah, what is
So the way I'm, one of the things to watch out for big time is that these Tazla can, with bad RNG, they can actually kill Korax.
Give me some direction.
And you don't want to lose Korax.
Let's do this. Quick. Give me some direction. I'm waiting.
It's really hard to kill all the enemies here fast enough without his paralyzing
Give me.
stunning attack.
I'm waiting. Yeah.
There's one more lesser basilisk that's up here. Okay, there it is.
Korak's hungry. I'm waiting. I'm very hungry. Give me some direction. I'm there. I'm waiting.
Okay, now here,
It must be done.
this is where Mutamin is, and Mutamin will kill me
I'm waiting.
easily.
Give me some direction. I'm waiting.
So I don't want to bring him onto my screen. I want to just send Korax in to fight Mutamin, because Korax is
Sir. I'm waiting.
not susceptible to... Mutamin doesn't start with damage spells, he starts with like, I don't know, some like maybe confusion or some debuff buff that Korax is immune to, and Korax is just going to stun him through his mirror images, so Korax can easily take Mutamin.
Give me some direction.
So what I'm going to do is,
Korak. I'm waiting.
I actually should have taken a Sanctuary, that would have made this much easier, but what I'm going to do is, let's get rid of this.
Korak's thing, Korak's sorry, but he's so very hungry. He must give me some direction.
Yeah, see, he starts with sleep. Okay.
I'm waiting.
Alright, I better I'm gonna
Korak's
send
good
Korax to
dog,
attack
yes.
Mutamin before Mutamin casts a damage spell against him. Okay, I think Korax just stunned Mutamin. Yep.
I'm waiting. Korak's hungry. Korak's good dog. Give me some direction. Yeah.
Okay.
Give me some direction. What is
Now let's see
Korak's
whether
hungry.
I want to try to
Give me some direction.
get some style points here by not using the second scroll, because this is about when the first scroll of protection from petrification will start running out. So I need to be very careful.
Very hungry.
Yep, right there.
Give me some. Let's do this. Quick and Korak's good dog. Yes, good. I'm waiting.
Alright, now there's two more lesser basilisks up here, and it only takes me being on the screen for a second too long for one of them to look at me and insta-kill me, so I'm gonna play it safe and not try to conserve that scroll. This means that I'm probably not gonna get to learn protection from petrification until Baldur's Gate City, but that's fine. I'll just use the potions to kill the Durlax Tower basilisks.
Not a concern. Give me some.
It's not like totally optimal play here, but this is pretty good.
I'm waiting. Korak's good dog. Yes, good. Give me some direction. I'm waiting. Korak's hungry. I'll see to you. Korak's sorry, but give me some direction. I'm almost done. I carry. I'm willing.
All right. So I will put these spells in the save for later. I'm starting to have enough resources where I don't feel like I need to sell everything, and I'll save them to scribe them all when I grab the potions later.
Give me some direction.
Let's just wait for the combat
I'm
to wear off
must be done.
so I can identify this thing. All right. So some people like to kill Korax afterwards. I hate that. Korax helped us, and also that's risky because of the paralyze attack that Korax has. I do not want to get paralyzed and then instantly die. Let's take the level up. All right, now spell book. At level 2, there's a few different viable options early in the game. I'm going to stock up on, and you can see because my 18 wisdom, I just have a ton of spells already, and I just started the game. Silence is an awesome spell against enemy mages and priests. And it will also just completely mess up a lot of encounters because a lot of enemies don't go hostile until they can talk to you and you say something to them in dialogue. So a lot of enemies will let you walk right up to them and get the first attack if they're silenced. But I'm not going to be fighting any such enemies in the near term. I'm going to take a bunch of hold persons, maybe one draw upon Holy Might. Draw upon Holy Might is amazing. This is going to allow me to get into 19-20 strength and really lower my Thaco, which is critical right now. My Thaco is really bad. So this is a super helpful spell for hitting enemies that I really shouldn't be able to hit. And, you know, spells like this are why I think clerics don't really suffer that much versus fighters in BG1. They definitely suffer, but this helps to mitigate it. I don't really take healing spells much. I'm generally resting to heal or using the special ability that I'll get as my ball spawn powers, or a level 1 slot for cure light wounds, because level 1 becomes like a pretty big wasteland in sort of mid BG1. There's not much there that's going to really flip a fight. But I'm taking a bunch of hold persons for now because I'm about to go get one of the other like critical items early on in the saga, which is the Gauntlets of Weapon Expertise from Milam in the Firewine ruins. And the easiest way to deal with him is to just stun him and then beat him down. So I'm going to try to get as many chances as I can to kill him with hold person. And I'm going to take a bunch of commands as well, because if hold person fails, I can use command. Now, at level 3, the most amazing spell in the priest book in BG1 is Animate Dead. Once you get up to the 7 HD skeleton, which is possible in BG1 with a level cap remover for a multi-class. Maybe you only get to this one without the level cap remover, but regardless, I mean, who's playing with a BG1 level cap at this point? The 7 HD skeleton is where these skeletons start to have a ton of resistances and just be really powerful fighters, really low Thaco. These are awesome summons. The 7 HD skeleton, by the time you get access to it, you'll have, you know, maybe 5 spell slots in this level, and you can just send these things in and they'll solo most encounters. So this is an awesome spell. But for now, while I'm still down with the 3 HD version, this guy sucks. So this spell I got to scale into a little bit. And before scaling into this, level 3 pre-spells, there's nothing here that's particularly amazing. What do I usually do? It sort of doesn't make a difference. I might take a Cure Medium Wounds sometimes, or Holy Smite just for some damage if I have the chance to actually get it off in battle is not bad. Prayer is a problem because it's going to cause me to move. Oh no, it doesn't cause me to move more slowly, but it's only a +1 bonus. So this is, and it's 1 round per level. This is pretty iffy early on in the saga. Protection from Fire only gives, let's see. Yeah. 80%. I guess I've maybe underrated this spell because it does give complete invulnerability to fire, but 3 rounds +1 per level, and I'm pretty close to getting access to level 3 mage spells already, which is going to get me from protection from fire in the mage book, which lasts 1 turn per level. So that's not worthwhile. I'll just take some Holy Smites. Okay.
It's done.
Now, the next thing, so what do I have now? So I'm like pretty good on XP. You know, I'm at a point where my Thaco is now come down to 17. I have a decent roster of spells now. I have 38 HP, so I'm not going to be dying right away. So this is like a level of XP where now it's going to be quite easy to like take on the Nashkel Mines and much more without dying.
Let's do this quick and painful.
I wonder how long it's going to take me to hit this guy with my 17 Thaco. Okay. I mean, that right there is why draw upon Holy Might is really
No
important,
use to
just to
anyone
get the
tired.
Thaco down. We'll check what my Thaco is once I cast that spell in a little bit. So the next thing I need to do is start to fill some of these other slots. Now, the best in slot in the base game is in BG1 is Boots of Speed. That's a huge buff. For the belts, it's going to be one of Piercing, Slashing, or Crushing. I like to get the Crushing because generally full Ankeg Plate Mail, I think Full Plate works this way as well, has the worst AC versus Crushing, and a lot of enemies that I tend to fight a lot, like farming Ankegs and stuff, have Crushing damage attacks. So I like to generally put the Crushing belt on, but any of one of those is going to be your best in slot for belts in BG1. There's really not all that much you can do with belts in BG1. It's very limited. Your cloak is going to be the Cloak of Displacement, which I could afford to buy at Olga's Beard right now until BG1, and then in post BG1 it's going to be the Cloak, or until Baldur's Gate City, and post the city it's going to be the Cloak of Balduran. So I'm going to go buy that pretty soon. And then for rings of fire resistance are really powerful. There's one in the Gibbering area. I'm not going to go there and get it in this demo. And I'm probably pretty close to concluding this. But now I'm going to focus on just filling out some of my other items. And I think I'll show getting a good weapon and maybe buying the cloak. Best in slot for rings is Rings of Fire Protection, and then for me as a cleric, the Holy Ring, which is going to give me +1 spell in levels 1 through 4. It's actually not optimal to use a ring slot for a Ring of Protection +1 because I can get the amulet from the inn in Baragost. And the amulet, there's really nothing better for that slot. There's very limited amulets in BG1, so it's best to take up that slot for the +1 saves and armor and not a ring slot, which could be used for something else. But let's go
Probably best left to me.
now get one of the key items to have early in the game, which is the best in slot for gauntlets in the game for pretty much any class, which is the gauntlets of weapon expertise. I forget what the name is, but it's +2 to damage and +1 to Thaco, I believe. And that's huge early on in the game when, you know, I'm doing 4 to 10 damage. This is going to be like a, you know, like a 50% to 20% increase in my damage output if I can get these gauntlets. And it's pretty easy to get them.
Waylaid by enemies and must defend yourself.
All right, so coming down through Gullikin, just to come through it to get to the Firewand Ruins. One thing that I didn't realize till like very recently is if you actually rob a home in Gullikin in sight of somebody else, then the guards that show up are actually halflings. It's like a halfling brigade. It's not the Flaming Fist. It's really funny. I mean, just to put that type of thought into the game is just cool. There's no reason that they really need to take the time to make the people who bust you halflings. I think they even might say something that, you know, calls you an outsider or something. All right, so now I'm at the Firewand Bridge. I'm gonna rest so I can refresh my spell book.
Best left to me. Not a concern.
Okay.
I'm willing.
And let's go meet Milam and get these gauntlets. You know, the existence of these gauntlets is one reason why I think Kensai is overrated, and particularly in BG1. You know, you're getting... You're picking up these... Kensai can't wear gauntlets. And if you're any other fighter class, you can wear these gauntlets. These gauntlets are giving you +2 damage and +1 Thaco. So that's like basically the extra damage bonus that Kensai's get and Thaco bonus that they get after they're like significantly leveled. So like, yeah, for almost all of BG1, the Kensai's damage and Thaco bonus is just is not really a buff because you lose the gauntlets.
I'll see to it.
All right, so where is this guy? Okay, like the chivalrous, lawful good I am, I'm gonna try to kill this man before he's even said a single thing to me. And my game plan here is I'm gonna try to get him stunned. Wow, first time. All right, this is going pretty well. So now that he's stunned, I mean, hold person lasts forever. But now that he's stunned, I can kill him most quickly by dual wielding because every attack's gonna hit. And let's check. Alright, now let's see what my Thaco looks like after draw upon Holy Might. Yeah, so I'm down at 15. Getting passable, still not great. Still very reliant on wands and stuns and command to get anything done. But this is gonna come down as I continue to level, and also I don't even have a +1 weapon yet. So, you know, on my way. Alright, now Milam is toast. This guy has a lot of HP with SCS. Okay.
Yeah, I'm there.
I also have some more items that I can sell now. And yeah, now I'm even down to, okay, so it's plus, I guess it's, I'll just identify this just to see. Yeah, +1 Thaco, +1 Thaco, +2 damage. So I'm getting down to 14 now with those gauntlets. And my damage is at 11 to 17 with the draw upon Holy Might. So, you know, I'm getting to be a pretty decent fighter here for being a level 5 cleric.
If it must be done. It's probably best left to me.
Okay, now I am about to go complete more of my item collection, but the items that I need to get now, the cloak, the full plate, the amulet, these are all things I'm going to be buying from stores, and they're pretty expensive. So this is where I need to focus on getting my rep up to 20. And to do that,
Not a concern.
there's a few quests that are worth undertaking. One of them is definitely to do the thing I mentioned before, kill these hobgoblins and take the ring. So let's go do that.
Spare no one. Let's do this quick and painless.
I don't think I can. Alright. There's going to be 3 of them up here. This is probably a good place to use my Holy Smite. Wow. Pretty effective. Alright. I'll reveal that area while I'm here.
I'll see to it.
And then head in to claim my +1 rep.
Give me some direction.
And, you know, as you can see, I'm, other than maybe having the optionality of wands and being able to use the protection from petrification scroll and identify, I'm not playing as a mage here. I'm not using my mage levels. Mage levels are really not very useful until later on when the more powerful mage spells come into play. Right now, it's much more powerful to be able to wear the Ankeg plate.
It's done.
Yes?
Okay. I think there's a dialogue that shuts this quest down, so let's indulge this lady. Certainly, speak your mind. I will help you.
Yes?
Now here's your ring. Alright, +1 rep. I might be able to bash this with a
Yeah, if it must
draw
be
upon
done.
Holy Might, but I don't think there's much good in there.
Probably best left.
I'm still not going to mess with
Give me. Not a concern.
Tarlish there, or the name of the mage on the stairs. It's just not worth it. I guess I could go buy potions now to start to set up to scribe scrolls, but
This is worth it.
I'm not even going to do that in this video, I think.
I'll see.
Okay, this is the Ankeg area. Great place to farm inside the Ankeg lair. When I don't play a cleric, when I play something other than cleric mage, or I might even, sometimes do it with cleric mage, but when I play something soloing like with a mage, then the Wand of Sleep from High Hedge is really critical to killing Ankegs. Putting them to sleep is pretty much the only way to you stun them so that you can actually hit them. That's pretty much the only way to solo
Give me
them,
some direction. I'm waiting.
effectively as a mage. But because I'm a cleric, I think my Thakos should be good enough to kill Withdraw upon Holy Might and getting Magical Weapon. I think my Thakos should be decent enough to fight
Give me some
Ankegs
directions there.
later on without the Wand of Sleep. But that's not going to be a part of this video either. So let's
this
kill
quick and
these
painless.
guys because that's how I'm going to get my +1 weapon. I think one of them has a +1 flail on them for some reason. Okay, am I going to have to use a command here? Funny thing about the game logic is I think it doesn't let people flee outside of the explored map area. There we go. Alright. Okay. Now, I could go in here and kill all these Ankegs. But instead, I'm gonna
I'm waiting.
just demonstrate the power of Sanctuary here. And I'll come back for the Ankegs later. So the Wand of Fire, one of the most powerful items in all of BG1. The Agonizer's Scorcher it sends out in particular is very powerful because it does a lot of fire damage to many targets. It hits twice, and it has no cast time, so you can't be interrupted. And also, as a cleric mage, I can use the Wand of Fire while wearing full plate. It's kind of crazy. I can wear full plate and use a really powerful wand. Let's see. Is it going to let me do this? Wow. Alright. Yep, out of identifies. Okay. So, Sanctuary again, it doesn't break like invisibility when you open a chest. So, I can, as a level 1 cleric, you could do the same thing. Just free walk in here and loot that area.
It's done.
Alright, now here's another opportunity to get plus rep.
Please, will no one help me? 'Twill be hard going without my son.
The plus
Will
rep
be
comes, this may be
hard
through a
going
mod.
without my son.
Oh wow, I have to have higher rep,
Going
I
without my
guess.
son.
Okay,
me some
nope, it
direction.
worked. So, +1 rep there, now I'm up to 18. There are going to be 2 Ankegs up here, so how am I going to handle this? They're pretty resistant to fire damage. I think I'm high enough level that with commands and the draw upon Holy Might I have here, I should be able to handle them. So again, since every hit's gonna hit here. Alright. See, I'm somewhat in trouble here already. I need the potion because I'm not going to take the chance of being interrupted by casting anything to heal myself. Like even this, there's a cast time of 1 on this.
Give me some direction.
So I didn't want to take the chance.
Let's do this quick and painful.
Okay.
It's probably best left to me.
I'm much safer now.
Quick and painful.
This should be no problem.
I'm waiting. I'm willing.
Okay. Let's go get our 75 gold.
Yeah?
And the main reason I'm going up here, I was heading this direction anyway. But the main reason I'm going up here is in order to reveal Olgoth's beard. Because I'm going to come back there and buy my cloak once I have my rep up to 20. I'm not quite there yet. I think I can grab a quick 1k XP for just returning the bowl. Alright, now.
Let's do this quick and painful. Let's do this quick and painful.
Huh. Can you save for no damage versus that? Oh, I guess it's possible that the Ankegs are neutral or something, so the draw upon Holy Might doesn't affect them. Yeah, only evil, yeah. That must be what it is. It's gonna take me a while to kill this guy. Oh, wow.
Give me some direction.
So, with the missile attack, I think I can take like up to 20 damage here. So I shouldn't be able to be killed if I can drink this potion fast enough. Yeah, I better just bail. Let's just bail. Okay, not worth losing the run over that. I'll come back for that Ankeg. Okay, I still don't have my rep up, so I'm not going to go to the store here yet. But I just needed to exit that area. No, I think I'm going to use the inn. Right. That should be enough. Even if I get caught in an encounter, I should be okay. Alright, so I'm going to get... I need 2 more rep to get to 20. Now, one of them that's easy to get is buying the book from Firebead in Bear Ghost. But I want to show going to this area down here. Because this is an area I often go to because it gets me a protection from Undead Scroll. And there's also 2 opportunities to get plus rep. Plus I get the crushing belt. So I like coming to this area early. And that's this area here. It's called Dryad Falls.
It's probably
Alright,
best.
let's rest to get all our spells back. Now the first opportunity for plus 1 rep is to help this nymph.
Oak is in peril.
And this should be a pretty easy fight at the level I'm at.
I'm Caldo. This is my brother Crumb.
Command is just a really good spell this early on. You can't get attacked, and every attack of yours hits.
Quick and pain. Give me some direction.
Okay, so this gets me the belt that I need. And
My tree is
now I
in
get a
such
+1 rep.
pain.
And I'll stash the antidote for later. So now I'm at 19. One more to go.
I'm waiting.
I usually loot this
I'll see.
while I'm here, simply because there's a +1 halberd in here that sells for quite a lot of money.
I'm waiting.
I will say fighting in early BG1 before you really have levels or can get your Thaco down is painful. Just a lot of whiffing on both sides. You know, especially because I'm down at -5 AC. Okay.
I'm there.
All right, now this is the other thing I have to do in this area. Well, probably two things. So the first I'm going to do,
Direction. I'm waiting. If it must be done.
I'll reveal the Knoll encampment over here so I can come back to it later and get the +1 charisma tome.
It's probably
If I'm really trying to be a perfectionist, sometimes I'll grab that tome before I do my first big buy, because then I could get my charisma even higher, but I'm not going to bother on this run. All right, now here, this little girl here, if your charisma is really low, she'll think you killed her cat. Or maybe it's just unless it's really high. If your charisma is 18, then you get +1 rep, and you also get a scroll of protection from the undead, which is very powerful scroll. You can buy one in high hedge as well, but I like to get one here. I don't know why. I just like to get one here. Now the problem for me, as I'm forgetting now, is that I have 9 charisma, so I would need to use both the potion of persuasiveness and one of my friend's scrolls to get up to 18. I just don't think that's worth it. I'm gonna save more using the potion when I buy, like, the robe of the Archmagi, or
some direction.
maybe even full plate. So I'm not gonna do it here.
Concern.
Let's see what happens.
Mommy.
Okay, so she doesn't think I killed her. I killed the cat. I guess that's only if you have low charisma, but no +1 rep and no scroll, because I didn't have 18 charisma.
This is worth it.
So to pick up my last plus rep, I'm just gonna go to Firebeat and Bear Ghost and do it there.
Yeah, I'll see to it.
You have been waylaid by enemies
Oh boy,
and must
that's
defend
definitely not an enemy you want to be fighting. Has a paralyzed attack. That would be an instant death if I hadn't acted quick there. All right. One thing about Baragost in, the post Beamdog versions is that there's an encounter with Nira at the top of the town, where with SCS installed, the enemy mage that's standing there will cast Ice Lance against you, which is a save for a spell or be stunned. And the stun will kill you, because the mage, it lasts for like 3 rounds, and the mage will hit you with a few rounds of magic missile. So it's sort of comical that, like, I hate going anywhere near this area. It's the combination of like the Beamdog changes plus SCS basically put a mage that will like completely wreck you unless you're like very high level or have a potion of freedom, etc. Like in like one of the first areas of the game, in the main area you'd walk through. That's pretty cruel. I I have gotten killed by that before,
So
even
hard to
recently.
find decent
Okay,
folk.
I gotta go buy his book first. Now, while I'm at it here,
Not a concern.
I guess I'll be a perfectionist. I'm not gonna buy the protector until I get my rep up to
You tell him, Marl.
20. Let's go do this.
So hard to
see.
find decent folk nowadays.
Okay, now I'm at 20 rep. And it's time to start spending some of my gold.
I'm there.
You want some whiskey?
So this came down like 200 gold just from the extra +1 rep. I'll plan to sell the ring. In truth, full plate is higher priority than just buying that amulet when I already had the ring, but I was right here. I think what else am I going to do here? I think I'm going to go buy the robe displacement and then probably call it at that point.
Give me
And we'll recap sort of how well we did here in basically like an hour and a half of gameplay or something. So let me go back to Olga's beard.
Been waylaid by enemies and must defend yourself.
I kicked him in the head till he was
And kick plate plus shield, and you don't have to worry about the bandits too much.
not a concern.
Hergen would speak at you, so listen up a moment or two.
All right, so here
You want some whiskey?
I could definitely use. This probably is a candidate for using a friend's scroll already. Simply because there's 3 things that are very helpful to buy here. First, the Cloak of Displacement, the best cloak before Baldur's Gate City. Good plus to saves, and then this really helps when you're a melee attacking strategy. And there's so much ranged damage. Like the bandit camp, with and without this cloak, is a massive difference. The Greenstone Amulet is how the only way to avoid confusion, because you're not going to have chaotic commands until much later. So this is really powerful. Wand of the Heavens I would buy if I had more gold, but it's not higher priority than full plate. And then I want to pick up these scrolls because when I pop my genius potions, I'm going to be at high hedge, not here. So I definitely want to pick up these scrolls. Particularly improved invisibility is really powerful. So let's see. I think it's definitely worth using a friend scroll here. It's going to take these prices way down. Or will it? So I'm only at 9 charisma. Let's check this out. Maybe to get any discount. Yeah, look. So I'm at 9. Friends is +6. Would get me to 15. Wow. So it's not even going to make a difference. Okay, I guess for sake of demonstration, I'm just going to go both. I mean, I'll have access to more gold later when I buy like the Robe of the Archmage. This should work. Okay, so now I'm up to 19 charisma, and that's going to give me a minus 20% store discount on top of the minus 30% that I already have from my 20 reputation.
You want some whiskey?
So, most important thing is the cloak, then the amulet, and then I'm going to pick up these scrolls. All right, I think I'll pause this. I'll pause this here. This is pretty much how I start with some slight modifications based on class I'm playing, but in terms of where I go, what I pick up, the pacing of going through different areas of the map, this is pretty much how I start every Baldur's Gate run. And, without taking very much risk or getting into tough fights, facing enemies that I didn't have solutions for, I got to a place where I have best in slot belts, best in slot cloak before Baldur's Gate City. I have a +1 weapon. I will need a little more gold to get full plate, but I have the second best armor. I have the best gauntlets. I have the best amulets. And I've got 20 rep. I've got 40 HP and 9 levels.
Yeah.
So I think it's a pretty efficient way to go through the beginning of the game. Yeah, let me know if you do things differently, if you found anything interesting about this or helpful. Give me your tips for how you start out the game to
I'm waiting.
make things go smoothly for you. And let's see if video start becomes the one who's going to make it all the way to a Melisande. It's possible. I will continue with this game and see how far I can go without dying. All right, thanks.